Hi, I'm Corey. Welcome to Creating with Scraps. In a previous video, I had mentioned that I would show my no-sew spine. There's no sewing at all on the spine or to adhere the pages to this journal. I would show that technique, and I'm quite certain there's lots and lots of ways to do this. I've just had good luck with this way, so I'll show that. Now, yes, I did sew in this because I wanted to sew the transparency onto the cover because I've got some Tim Holtz product here, some micro, the rock candy glitter, and then the mica flakes. And so I wanted to make sure that was contained. So there is sewing, but the spine itself is just layered cardstock, and I will show you how I accomplished that. Now I've got the letters for silence in here, and that was the determination for my number of pages, you know, plus a little notebook in the back and a pocket in the front. But as far as I can tell, you can do this with as many pages as you need. It seems to work fairly well. And I'll refer back to this on how once I created the pages, I attached it to the spine and then attached the cover because it really is sturdy. And the benefit is this is a smaller book, not thinner pages, Corey, thicker pages, but I've used a soft spine. And even though they're thick and chunky, these pages lay completely flat, as flat as you want them to be. And I think that has to do with the type of the spine that I used and the fact that I enclosed it with a flexible end cover, I guess, a flexible spine end cover. Even though these aren't necessarily super flexible in here and the way they're adhered, they still give you the option to lay things flat, which is always a struggle for me because I like things thick. Now the book itself is never going to lay completely flat because I've got these chunked out pine codes on the cover. But if I were, if I'd had just the photo and the plaque on the front without these, the whole book would lay down flat for writing in and for documenting and so on. And there are inserts in each top of each page, so you have additional writing space if you're wanting to use, just like I did, quotes and photos on the outside. So it gives you some options and some flexibility. This would also be a great format for a December daily, and that's going to lead me to my next piece. So I'm going to show you how I did that. And I'll also, after I show you this, I'll give you another option for a December daily that requires no sewing. And I keep saying December daily because I'm in the Christmas spirit, the holidays time frame, and I enjoy doing those things. But you can use it for any time of the year in any journal. Now, is it a traditional journal in the more modern sense of a traditional journal? No, because I very rarely use copy paper for my page bases. I just tend to like to include journaling spaces or spots or booklets with a heavier paper. Maybe that's a kickback to my scrapbooking days, but it works, and I'm able to get the elements of junk journals that I love and some of the convenience of the thicker paper. All right, so this is just my sample. This is cardstock that I had ordered that was just a little too thick to fit through my printer. It would jam up my printer every time. And can you use thinner cardstock? Sure. Does this work with regular copy paper? I honestly don't know because I haven't tried it. I would think so, but then I would think that you also couldn't put whatever page decorations you're going to use. I wouldn't think you could put anything too bulky or too heavy on it because you'd risk tearing or ruining the spine. All right, size doesn't matter. I chose to do 6 inches tall I cut it to 5 inches wide. So I did 6 by 5. And that way I could have done 5 1/4, but I liked the way it looked with 6 inches, and it's just over 4 inches once I've scored it. So I cut them to 6 inches in height and 5 inches in width. And I'll do one here. So I've got most of it prepped so that you didn't have to watch the whole thing ad nauseum. So I've cut them to 6 inches tall, and then because it's 11-inch paper, I can get 2 5-inch cuts out of each page. So there's 5, and there's 5. Okay, 2 5-inch cuts. Then I'll grab my scoreboard, and you don't have to use a scoreboard, I just find it significantly easier. On the ones that I've already done, I scored them twice. I scored them at 4 1/8 so that I could get a 4-inch picture on here and not make it too tight. So I scored it at 4 1/8 and 4 1/4. All right, so 4 1/8 and 4 1/4. And if you can see that, I have a 1/8 inch spine. Could you do a 1/4 inch spine? Probably. I've not tried it. Could you do, if your scoreboard does 16th inch scores, could you do 16? Maybe. You could certainly try it, but I don't know that you'd get the same result and same effect. All right, so I'm a dork. All right, really, really glad that I did that, because you can see what I did here. I didn't cut it. I didn't score it the correct way. Good job, Cor. So rather than turning it sideways and scoring it along the vertical, I scored it at the horizontal. That's okay, it's paper, I can use it for something else. Trying that again and suggesting that again. When you score your page, make sure you're scoring it to the height size you want. So rather than scoring it the sideways or the hamburger way, I scored it the hot dog way. No, vice versa. I should have scored it hot dog, but I ended up scoring a hamburger. So if I were to rescore this, I would still do it at 4 1/8 and 4 1/4. I just would score it the correct way. Really glad I had those done. Okay, so I'm going to take this sheet and I scored in, right? I laid it on my page and I scored, or my scoreboard, and I scored in. When I score in, I find it's easier. Oh gosh, well, apparently I used this for something else. You can see it got stuck and jammed in my printer. We won't be using that one. You know, though, actually, technically I could, because I would cover this up. So not really a big deal. Okay, let's grab another one. I prepped a bunch. So again, I've scored down from the top. So I want to flip it over to fold it. And I want to fold it at both of those score marks, the 4 1/8 and the 4 1/4. And you're noticing, well, maybe you're noticing, I'm not using my bone folder like I normally do. I don't want this super tight or super pressed. I want to have a little bit of flexibility with it. I still have, you can see my 1/8 inch score, but nothing is super tight. Nothing is super unforgiving. So if I need a little wiggle room for whatever reason, I've got it. And so each of my pages after I score them is going to look a little bit like this, with a 1/8 inch margin in the top. Not in the top, Corey, in the side. So it looks like this basically. All right. And then I'm going to pick up the pieces I've already done. And I tend to start with my flap, my 1-ish inch flap. It's not quite an inch, but I start with that facing me. I just find that I have better luck. So I'm going to put my glue on the flap that I created, not on the seam that I've created, but on the flap, the leftover flap bit. And I just put some glue, enough but not too much. How much is that? I don't know, but about that much. Okay, about that much glue. Then I stand it up. I've got the pieces that I've already done. And if this were my first piece, I would not glue this, because that would be my front. I would glue my second piece as I'm stacking it together. So I stand them up so that I know that they're the same height. And then I just line it up. I line up my edges and I line up my pieces. And then I don't clamp my top piece, but I do clamp down just a little bit, and I'm using quilting clamps here, but whatever clamps you've got are fine. I clamp down just a little bit to let it dry, just to make sure it stays in place. It dries quickly, but I can also check my dimension on what's going to be my fronts of my pages is good. They match up on the sides, and I've got like what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 7 of them on here, and I can add, I mean, conceivably, I can add as many as I need. So I'll do one more to show you what I mean. By the time I fold the next one, it's ready to be reclamped, which is why I don't fold them all in advance. I fold, and while it's folding, the glue is drying or adhering enough that it holds it in place. So again, I've got my score lines on the inside, are scored to the inside. I flip it over and fold it lightly on the outside. both of those pieces. Again, not tight, not perfect by any means, but loose. I'm going to put the glue right here on the remaining flap. Could you use tape? Sure. Again, I'm just not much of a tape fan because it has no time to wiggle. You put it down and it's done. Whereas the glue, even though the art glitter glue or reptile glue, whatever you have, dries quickly, you still have enough time to wiggle a little bit if you didn't line it up perfectly. So when I'm ready to do the next one, I do the same thing. I lay it flat on my surface, I line it up to the back, and I tap, make sure my sides, what's going to be the front edge is even. I make sure my back sides are even, and then it lines up straight. And then I come in with my clamp. Now, if I were going to use a lot of pages, I'd probably have to get a bigger clamp. These quilt clamps aren't that thick. But in the meantime, it's sufficient to hold the pages while they dry. All right, so I've got all of my pages. I'm pretending I could use this. I would probably do this and put, I like to do my December dailies through December 31st. So I would need 31, so I would need 16. To get 2 sides each, I would need 16 pages, and I would continue on until I had the 16 pages I need, letting them dry, and then I'm ready to go. Now, once you've got this base, this first piece, it's not the first piece, it's the inner pages. When you've got the inner pages, that's when you can go and do your cover. So what I did to create the spine, the outside spine, and the cover is I took a piece of chipboard and I wrapped the piece of chipboard with thinner paper. Like my black paper here is a thinner, it's cardstock, but it's like, I think it was a Joanne or somebody, super thin cardstock. I mean, it's a little bit heavier than copy paper, but it's certainly not like a standard heavier weight cardstock. So I wrapped a piece of chipboard that was, you can see here, maybe, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch or something, larger than the pages that I had made. It's a little bit, maybe 1/4 inch wider, and 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch longer, something like that. I wrapped my inside piece so that my edges are flush and my corners are square, glued that down, and then I created the piece that I wanted for my cover. Like here, this is Tracy's Simple Snowflake, and I just collaged bits because they're all little cards. And so I collaged bits to make my top cover, and I put it on a little bit heavier black cardstock. So I've got my 2 pieces for my sandwich, and they're ready to go for my inside cover and my top cover. Before I did that, I took, in this case, a piece of lace, and I laid the lace where I wanted it to go, between the 2 pages. So this insert piece, this middle piece is not here yet. I laid it down on my surface. I used my grid to make sure my lines were straight. I laid my lace down, and then I put the inside cover pieces right on top. I probably used Fabri-Tac, simply because it works. I'm really looking forward to trying the Art Glitter Glue's fabric glue thing that Gail Augustinelli recommended. I haven't tried that or ordered or tried it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. So I've laid my piece down, lined it up on my grid. If you're worried about your lace wiggling, use some light tack tape to hold your lace down in place so it doesn't wiggle. And then you put your Fabri-Tac down and you lay the inside cover piece directly on top of it using your lines where you want it to go. So if you wanted a 2-inch spine, you'd lay your lace right here and then put your covers so that the inside edge match that up, right? And then I'll usually put something heavy, like let's say maybe my toolbox or something. I'll put that on it and let it dry for just a few minutes. So then I've got my piece of lace and I've got my inside covers set. Then when I know it's dry, I'll lift those now attached pieces, the inside cover pieces and the lace piece. And this is like a cotton lace. It's a thicker cotton lace, but you could essentially use, any lace you want. And you can see here the bottom of mine is wider because I have more weight at the bottom, but I still laid it out so that it's flat, and it works great. Then you've got your inside piece attached to your lace. you lift it up and you turn it around. So it's your inside cover is now down facing your glass mat or your work surface, and the lace is on top and adhered with the edge of the lace sewing. That's when you take your top cover pieces, your outside cover pieces, and you do the same thing. You use your grid, you lay it down on top to make sure your inside and outside covers match, and then you put something heavy on it. So now you have your cover with nothing inside. Your cover is adhered, your cover is sturdy, and it's dry, the glue is dry with nothing inside. Then you take your inside pages, okay, so I've created my inside pages, and I've got a nice, fairly even, fairly smooth spine. And I'm not doing it because I haven't added all the pages. I'm going to make sure there's 31 pages on this. So 16 pages so that I have 31 work surfaces. So I've got this spine all ready to go. I'll put glue on the spine, and again I'll use Fabri-Tac so that it adheres to the lace, but again I'm really looking forward to trying the art glitter glue to see if that works a little better. I'll put glue on this and I will tuck it inside my newly created cover of my journal. Tuck it inside, and then I clamp it so that the glue stays attached to the lace until it dries. These aren't the same size, of course, because they're different journals. And I'll show you what I mean over here. Let's see. So the December daily that oops, sorry about that. I pulled off my microphone. Okay, so the December daily that I've started. I did the same concept here, but I used all lace. I made a lace cover, and I made a lace spine. And you can see I've glued my pages into the spine that I created. Now you can see here it's a little bit of a gap, so I'll come back in and glue those. I just put the lace around the chipboard, and I did that intentionally. But the benefit here is, all right, so this is the December daily showing my new to me technique of doing a single spine with several sections so that you don't have one big wide gator mouth spine journal. Because sometimes when you make your signatures bigger and bigger, you can still do one signature and only one sewn signature, but you can widen the space between them. And it seems to have worked really well. What I did to emulate the embellishments that I'm going to put on the page to make sure that my spine was wide enough is I just grabbed some old pictures, stacks of old pictures, and I shoved the old pictures in between to, pretend about this goes back to like, I don't know, 95, 97. I mean, some of this stuff is really, that's when my husband and I were dating. Holy Moses. So some of this stuff is really old. But I just grabbed, there you go, a wedding in 84. I grabbed it from clearly my ephemera box, or my memorabilia box for my personal stuff that I haven't done yet. These are old craft rooms that I've done. Went and saw Dorothy Hamill on ice in 1984. I think it was December or January of 85 or December of 84. Disney in 86. So basically I just grabbed a bunch of stuff and shoved it in so that I would get an idea of how fat my journal can conceivably be, so that I would make sure that I had sufficient room on my spine. And then what I'm going to do is use, well, obviously not quite wide enough, or quite ready because I just threw in this. And I'll use this from Tracy Fox Creative, her December daily kit. I'll use this as my wrap to close the front. Obviously I'm going to need a little bit longer ribbon, but I liked the lace that I had found. I'd found this really cool edge lace at a junk store, and I wanted to use it on the cover just because I thought it was pretty subtle but pretty, and so I'll wrap this, and maybe I'll make a new one with a little bit wider. I don't know yet. But anyway, I'll wrap this around the cover, and I can use it as a tuck spot or just use it as a closure, what have you, and that'll close off my spine a little bit. So one of the things I had mentioned on the previous video is I wonder how well my idea is going to work. And if this is any indication, I'm going to be able to get my pages to lay almost completely flat. And that has to do, again, with the flexible spine and the system, you know, with all the stuff that I shoved in there. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. All that stuff I shoved in there. Here is my single sewn in signature, and here are the sections I added to it. See how well that spreads? Could it still be a gator mouth? Probably. If I don't close it, it probably will be, because I'll put all kinds of stuff in it. But I love the fact that it is laying flat, and I'll be able to see the pages as I go. So far, I'm calling it working. I'm calling it a win. But again, we'll see once I've got everything in there if that's really the case. So that is one way to do no-sew junk journal with a spine that allows chunky stuff. Now, if you're a thin person and you do thin pages with thin embellishments, this probably isn't necessary for you. But I chunk mine up pretty good, and I want something, whatever I'm creating, I want it to accommodate the pieces that I'm including. Hence the reason for this system. All right, so that is my first system. The second system I'm suggesting is envelopes. You can take envelopes, doesn't matter what size, and you can stack your envelopes together to make, oh, here you go, to make a junk journal. And just simply by the nature of it, see, it's already giving you a little bit bigger spine. These would be my page bases, and I can put whatever I want right here to cover it up. These just happen to have a craft insert. They have not been glued. I will glue them before I make this into a journal, but I'll show you how simple it is and how you can use any size. So these envelopes come like so, right? I open them up and flip them back. So here's two of them, and this is one of the reasons I haven't glued it yet. Open them up and flip each flap back. So the flap that would normally close the envelope, I flip to the other side. And I do that with all of them. Then I have all the fronts facing in the same direction and all the flaps facing the same direction. And all I do is I tuck the flap in till it's where it meets the corners, right? And then I would come in behind and glue that in place, right? I'd put my glue right down here, okay? And then I fold this over, do the same thing with my next envelope. See, so it's not closed in the back, it's now flipped to the front. And I use the back of the previous envelope, the front of my new envelope, same thing. I tuck it in, and then I put a bit of glue right in here on the spine to close it up. Now I'm not going to put a ton, I'll just put a long line of glue right here. And the reason for that, same thing, all the way as many envelopes as you want. Is, you know, if you're wanting 31 individual days, or if you want to do 31 two-page spreads, whatever, you can do as many as you want. You can get this as stacked as you like. Now, maybe you want to be able to tuck something in some of these, which is why I would only put an edge of the glue. Then, on the ones you choose to, you can snip the end, and then you've got a tuck spot in there. Or you can snip along the top, and you've got a tuck spot up at the top. But you can extend this as much as you like. And then you use the same concept. Once it's all done and glued, you know, you make sure it stays loose enough so it'll expand. You put your glue on your spine, and then you put that in your pre-made cover, however you choose to pre-make your cover, you know, with the front and back pieces and the inside pieces, with a flexible spine or a sturdy spine, absolutely your choice. But then you've got the option of having another no-sew journal that is stable and usable and sturdy. I grabbed these, I had some leftovers from something, and show you, and I didn't have enough of any of the same color. So if I were wanting to do this, use these long envelopes, fold it over, fold them all over, and because I was thinking I needed 31 envelopes, I grabbed 31 envelopes. But conceivably, if you're wanting to do each one as its own single page, you could get by with 16. Or if you're only doing it till the 25th, you know, if you're wanting to end your December daily on the 25th, you wouldn't have to do that. All right, so my envelope is here with my opening to my right, and I've got all of my flaps flipped I'll tuck this in. I'll glue it in place. See where it touches, the fold touches the top of the envelope. Okay. And I'll do that all the way along until I have enough envelopes. So if you don't have a seam binding kit, or if you don't want to sew in your pages, you can still make a really cool, really usable journal just using envelopes and glue. Now, could you use glue sticks? Sure. Would I? Probably not, but you could. And you can still make it so that you can use these as tucks, or if you're wanting them a little sturdier, you can just make them your base and add on to them. You know, whether with tuck spots or belly bands or whatever you like to include. You can do flips, flaps, and folds in these. You can do pretty much anything you want. You can add pockets to the tops. So you do it all the way along there, and you see it's the same exact idea. So there is a no-sew journal. You don't have to sew the cover or the pages using envelopes. All right, so there's a couple ideas for you. So it's what, November 29th, maybe 28th? I'm not even sure anymore. And you're thinking, oh, I can't do December Daily right now. I didn't start in time. You saw how quick that was. I could easily make a December Daily that I can decorate as I go along within an hour, just tucking those envelopes together. And it doesn't matter what color envelopes they are. It doesn't matter what size they are. You can make it for you. If you want a more rustic-y thing, so get some, like this is craft paper with green. Love these. Get those kinds of envelopes, or use mailing envelopes. Completely personal choice. All right, so there is, if you choose to, a way to join in December Daily with either minimal sewing or no sewing. Couple other things I wanted to talk about. Can you use Christmas paper? Absolutely, you can use Christmas cardstock if you're, even if you're not a regular scrapbook person. Like this says $8.99, but I got this set after Christmas at a 75% off sale. So I don't remember. I could do the math, but I'm not going to. But it was like nothing cost-wise, and everything I need is in here. So I could make a junk journal for $4 or $5, completely everything, glue, everything I need, no sewing unless I chose to, and pages, because these are 12 by 12. You could, if you were to make a smaller journal, you could get 2 or 3 pages from each 12 by 12 page. Actually, you could get 4 pages, just depending on the size you make the journal, from each page of paper. So you could use something like that. You can use one of these ginormous kits. Again, I got this for 75% off, so it was $5, and there are 60 papers in here, and a ton of options in that. There's some glittery ones and some solid ones and what have you, and you could do the same thing there. If you've got packs of individual companies, like here, this is Christmas Market from Cartabella, and I absolutely love this paper, but it also goes really well with Christmas Delivery, a different line by Cartabella. The colors match beautifully, even though there may be different years and different companies. And Echo Park also, I know they're a similar company, but there's some Echo Park paper I've got somewhere. This is Cartabella. There's some Echo Park paper that coordinates with it beautifully. Here's some Echo Park. Okay, so I could use these embellishments or these papers on here, and you couldn't tell that they were different lines. And I only share that to say, if you don't have a ton, here you go, I could use these together. If you don't have a ton of paper in a single line, well, look how you can combine your lines. I mean, some colors don't work well. Here you go, here's Echo Park. Look how beautiful those are together. So don't be afraid to mix and match your products, okay? When I'm considering my December Daily and what I include, just some suggestions. My friend Tammy made this 3 years ago. She made this gorgeous tissue paper wrapped doily and put a button fabric cluster on it. Totally made me smile because Julie at Camellia Craft Designs was just doing these. And so you could tuck that in your December Daily. Kids and I made something at school one year with a snowman, and I could tuck that in. A couple years ago, I gave Yola Boca Flood cards to friends. I gave them a book and a coffee card because coffee and books are life. And there's a little tuck spot up here for a coffee gift card. So it's flat-ish, And I used up some old Christmas embellishments that I had from scrapbooking days, and I can combine that and tuck it on in. You know, Christmas crackers. When I learned about Christmas crackers, I was all kinds of excited. Maybe you folks in the UK that, you know, this is normal for you. What did the mayonnaise say to the fridge? Please close the door, I'm dressing. Okay, cheesy, but fun. Christmas cracker embellishments. They're almost always flat. You can tuck them in your journals. You know, photos. This is a couple of years back when we did a Christmas adventure. My daughter and I and my sister, my two daughters and I and my sister, one year we did, she was working for a wine company. And so we made some of these wine toppers, Jingle Juice, and then we put old ephemera on here. So I included what we did that year. You know, Christmas cards from friends, Christmas cards from students. And this one was a pop-up Christmas card from my mom. And it's a beautiful one, but I could easily glue this down in a journal, right? And enjoy it year after year. You know, again, cutting down a tree. Won't be doing that this year. From a Christmas craft show where the ladies were making a Norwegian, or maybe they weren't Norwegian. They were making some kind of a Northern European treat. And then here, this, you know, just some old photos and one of the things we did in December, and some Christmas decoration from our home, how I, you know, decorated for Christmas, and trees we've cut down, that kind of thing. So people that say, well, you know, I don't really do that much in December. Well, you don't have to do a lot to, you know, include and share your memories. So, all right, so I clearly have December Daily on my mind. And I looked around a little bit to see some channels that are doing something for each day of December. Now, I'm lucky enough to join Tracy Fox at Love Junk Journals, Tracy Fox Creative, for her December Daily Advent tags. I have December 7th and the 20th, but each day somebody, I think Tracy does the first 2 days, and Tracy's amazing. So you can follow along. You make your base journal, whatever you choose, and then you can, you know, play along and include things. You know, and most of the time it's going to be fairly quick. So I know December's crazy busy, but it doesn't have to preclude you from doing the things you love. So Tracy has something. Mandy from Sunflowers Indoors and Justine Jenkins from House of Mahalo have a Facebook group called Junk Journal Ideas and Inspiration. And they're doing a Junk Journal December Daily Christmas Advent Calendar. And the concept is really fun. So each day they'll open a door of the Advent calendar, and there will be something. And I don't know what those things are, but there'll be something inside of it. And it'll be something that's fairly generic. So it can apply to a December Daily, or it can, if you're not a person who celebrates Christmas or does anything special in December, it can be something that is used for another concept. And I'm making this up because I don't know what they've got inside there. But maybe they could say, take your scraps and weave them together to make a Frankenstein kind of page, right? And so you could use Christmas things or non-Christmas things, but all of their prompts or suggestions are ones that can be used either for Christmas or not, which I thought was really cool. So if you're wanting somebody to follow along or challenge yourself for Christmas, Tracy's December Daily Advent tags and Justine and Mandy's Advent calendar prompts are available. Gail Agostinelli, Sue at Paper Inspiration, Wendy at Wendy's Journal Adventure, and Marlies at Marley Design have all got some, you know, variation of Christmas journals, Christmas how-tos, decorating the journals, what I'm making for this year's journal. They're not necessarily December Daily videos that you'll see a series of, but they've got lots of ideas and inspiration for you. So if you're kind of stuck in what you're doing and you want to be inspired, all of those ladies are incredibly talented, creative, and inspiring. Julie from Camellia Craft Design is doing Scrapmas, and so she's building her December Junk Journal out of all scraps. So you're sure to be inspired by her. I was looking, and Louise Heinzel and Barbara from 49 Dragonflies have done something in the past, making ephemera in December. Boy, that's a tongue twister. So they're doing their Defemerember event where they're going to share videos and ideas each day. So you can certainly be inspired by those amazing ladies. Dear Julie, Julie is doing something, and I don't know exactly what, but I saw that she's doing something for a December daily kind of a thing. Oh, and with the Advent calendar that Mandy Reed from Sunflower Indoors and Justine Jenkins from House of Mahalo are doing, it says, so that it's an Advent calendar, and the prompt or message is, what crafty adventure awaits you behind each door? So each day you open a door and it gives you an idea and something to make, which I thought was seriously cool. There are also, if you're a more traditional scrapbooker, instead of more of junk journal, there's lots of people like Allie Edwards, who I believe came up with the December daily many years ago, back when I was scrapbooking. I believe she does, but she has a December daily video list as well, not just from 2022, but from years past. A lot of them use cut files and digitals if you're, use a Cricut or a Scan and Cut or a Silhouette or something, so you can use cut files for that, but not all of them do. Lollapalooza has something that she's doing for December. Kathy Orta King is doing something, Pink Oddbird, and then I don't know if she's scrapbooking or junk journaling or a combination, but a British gal named Lindsay Dent is got a series of videos. Also, when I was looking, there's a whole bunch of planner people. So if you like to decorate planners, maybe you can look and translate some of those ideas into your junk journals or such. But guaranteed, if you look for December daily planner, there's going to be a whole bunch of inspiration out there. Okay, so that is the video on 2 ways to do no-sew journals that are really truly effective and fairly straightforward to create. I looked at a previous video that I had done, and I deliberately didn't monetize when I joined YouTube because honestly the ads bug me, because most of the time they're not anything that's relevant to us and what we do, and I didn't want the ads to be on my channel. Well, I was a dork and I didn't realize that they still put the ads on whether or not I monetize. So I apologize profusely for those of you who have had to suffer through the ads. I don't like them, and if I had a way to make them go away, I would. So I'm very sorry for that. I think that was all. December 7th, I will post the video that I made for Tracy's December daily Advent tags for using the December 7th kit, and then on the 20th, I'll post using the December 20th kit. And also on the 16th, I will share the Advent calendar with Justine Jenkins and Mandy Reed, the December Christmas Advent December daily calendar, I think is the title. And I'll open the door and see the prompt, and I'll share with you what I did for the prompt. And it's December 16th, which is really cool because it's the first day of Los Posados. I love winter holidays around the world. I think it's imperative that we teach our kids about different cultures. And even though we do things that are dissimilar and unique to different cultures and countries, that the concept is all the same. It's about family and celebration and honoring your heritage. And if I get nothing else with my kids, I want to teach them that that's important. So I might throw in a little Los Posados information or something on that video, simply because I love doing it. All right. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that inspired you or encouraged you. And if you were on the fence about a December daily or joining in the December fun, that convinced you that, it doesn't have to take hours and hours and huge amounts of brain power to create a usable journal. Take care, all. Thank you for watching. Oh, one more thing before I say happy creating. I meet with my surgeon tomorrow, and I will know more then about the next steps with my leg, if it's going to require surgery or not, and that type of thing. So I will keep you all posted. When I know more, I'll let you know more. Thank you very much. Oh, totally teared up. A couple days ago in the mail, I got a get well card from Nancy. Thank you, Nancy. You do not know how much I needed that boost on that particular day. This is day 10 for me, and it's really wearing me down. I'm not used to being a person who's down much. Sure, I've had illness and injury in the past. I've had COVID twice, and I've had lots of injuries over the years. But this one is wearing me down a little bit. So thank you for that. It completely made my day. All right. Now I'll say thank you for watching and happy creating. Be well and enjoy the season.